I'm so confused. I guess the people who own puppy mills have TikTok and they're using it to like advertise their dogs. Anyway, hi guys. I'm Celeste. Um, and weirded out. I'm also weirded out. That's my other name, you know. Not actually, but literally though, I just passed by like scrolling through TikTok, I passed by a video of like puppies that were like freshly born, I guess. Not even like freshly born, like I guess like moderately freshly born, right? I they seem to be sedated. Like why were they all asleep and like weirdly sedated? I don't know. And then this person was just using like I mean they were like medical scissors, but to like cut the umbilical cords off of the dogs. I didn't even know dogs had umbilical cords. Is that maybe that's not what that was, but it looked like they were just using like medical scissors to like chop the umbilical cords off of these dogs, which I'm ultra confused by. Maybe I just don't know like newborn dog anatomy very well. Um maybe I just wouldn't know. Like maybe I'm behind the I don't know. I don't know. I think that's a normal thing to be weirded out by. Wow, my ceiling fan is so dirty. Literally so dirty. Wow, I gotta get this out of here. Who even knows? Who even knows what you just saw written on there? Wait. The way I'm like, let me not expose, you're seeing the most weird POV right now. But I always have like random notes and stuff, like written places. So I'm like, let me not like expose myself in like, wait, is that better or worse? Is that better or worse? Be honest. My desk so squeaky. Literally, like so crazy. Right now, so I started a new work from home job. Oh, but really quick, what I was gonna say about the puppy mill thing that I had an issue with. I mean, not really had an issue with, it was so weird. Like, he was like, say this is the dog, and this is like a pair of medical grade scissors. He was like lifting up the leg to like check the gender of the dog, but like after cutting the umbilical cord, like he would like snip, cut the umbilical cord, lift up the leg, check the gender, move on to the next one, chop the umbilical cord. Like it was giving weird vibes. Like it was giving weird vibes. I don't know. Not in like a super, I don't know. It looked like a puppy mill or something. The way that all the other videos, there were only like 3 or 4 other videos, and they were just like, he was like holding a dog, and he was like showing like the size and the shape of the dog, like, you know, like as if it's like for sale, which I guess like whatever, maybe it's a normal ethical breeder, right? Maybe it's like a normal, oh, maybe it's like a normal ethical breeder and it's like not weird. Anything can be weird though if it looks, I don't know, maybe I'm just so sensitive about like newborn dogs. Maybe I'm like morally sensitive about newborn dogs, okay? Because in my brain, I was like, can't you be like a little bit respectful? Can't you like talk to them about this first? Like, but I guess like I get that not everybody's gonna go that route and be like, you have to like talk to this dog even if they don't understand you to like make sure they know that you're being like respectful in some way. Maybe I have weird expectations. Maybe my expectations go way too far. Or maybe this thing that looks like a puppy mill situation is just not as good as it could have been. Like, maybe there was something off with that, right? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, my ceiling fan, super dirty. My table, not actually that dirty, it's just like super scratched up. And like termites already ate the entire inside of the table. So it's actually kind of more fun than it normally would be if it were just like a normal table, because it's like way more hollow. Like it has drawers, but it's way more hollow than it would have been otherwise. And I actually really like that about this table. It sounds like I'm lying, but I'm not lying. I actually really like that if you barely touch it, it moves. Like I actually really like favorite this table in my mind. It's not a table, it's like a desk. But I totally like fable this fable. What even is a fable? I have no idea. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. I just found a paper towel on the desk. I look a mess because why do I have multiple cups over here? Next looks amazing though. Primordial. But why did I say it like that? I said primordial. Primordial goddess. Okay. I'm still working on my talking degree apparently because I'm somewhat bad at talking. Okay. I don't know. Also, the angle of the camera is not convenient, but it does technically sort of work. I don't know. I'm in this weird phase. I don't know if you guys can tell. So I've been working not just on myself in like normal like rundown of a list of things I want to change about myself type of way, because I feel like that doesn't do that much. I mean, it does and it doesn't. It doesn't really. Because a person can be aware, and that like to what degree are they actually doing anything to change it? But making spell jars has been something that's like me taking an active role in sort of like updating my, not just my mind, but my belief system. It's so weird because I feel like I've made 90, like I have like over 90 currently that I have. I guess at some point I had like 150, but then I threw away some of them, and because they didn't do anything, I was expecting a little more, I guess, than I got out of it, you know? But so then now I have like over 90. I probably have like 95 to like 98, maybe crossing over to 100 soon, of spell jars that are currently like active, like performing a purpose. And so they also, just the process of creating one, I've learned, like, as I'm like putting different things inside, like I've learned that the process of creating it changes me enough that even if it's like every single one in some way changes me as a person in a positive way, which makes me sound like I have a lot of changing to do. But I guess what I mean is that anybody in their current form can be a category. Me making sure that I make no sense when I talk to you. Making sure I make no sense, that's all. Yeah, but I was going to say, like, anybody in their current situation can basically be like a caterpillar. You know? So, and then it's like you always have the opportunity to go through a metamorphosis to become the butterfly version of who you currently are, regardless of how amazing you are. You could be the most successful, most like worked on person on the planet, most fixed up person on the planet, most everything, every positive trait, right? Whatever, like you can still be that and still have room to become more no matter what. Like no matter where you're at, I do believe that like you can just improve. I mean, I try to believe that. That's my goal, is to believe that. There are times where I'm like, but if I work too hard at this, what if I run out of things to update about myself? What if I run out of things to, which you would think would be the goal, but in my brain, I started to think, if I like can't stop working on myself, I'm gonna be too good of a person, and then if I'm too good of a person, I'm gonna have nothing to do on earth because I'm gonna have nothing to work on. Like I just had like why did I find a way to take something positive and put myself in survival mode over that positive thing? Like, it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. Meanwhile, I can just be like, maybe I'm just a person with a lot of flaws and it's time to change that and update that. I would say, like, humility is the biggest thing that the hundreds, I don't know, of spell jars that I've made have, like, influenced about me, because I honestly thought my magic was stronger than it was when I started. So making these spell jars, watching them do nothing, watching myself spend hours making them, and watching them do nothing was definitely a slap in the face of reality. That doesn't mean magic's not real, it is, but it does mean that I spent hours questioning whether magic is real at all, because I thought that I was going to be able to manifest things a little better than I could, or a little faster. Man, dude, what? I think I walked around life having certain, like, false ideas of things that I could manifest way sooner than I actually could. It doesn't mean I've given up by any amount. It just made me say, okay, what I thought was going to be like 150 spell jars to get where I'm going, turns out my 150 did nothing. It's time to maybe in the next 3,000 spell jars, I'll get somewhere with, and I'm also putting effort into my life in other ways, but I think that it should never be completely, like, it should never be disregarded or cast aside the impact I've already been able to make in my own humility by, I think spiritually everybody is like, unless they've had it proven otherwise to them, a lot of people can feel like, well, I'm already spiritually protected, why would I find a room to grow more in that category? Or I'm already educated on, like, how the universe works, like, I've already learned about that. Why would I spend the time to find ways to think about that even more? Or, like, expand on my belief of that even more? Like, why would I? Like, it's almost like this existential space that is easy to end up in. Not that everybody does, but I don't think I've ever met a person who had absolutely none of that in them. Like, I think that every person I've ever met or identified with on a deeper level, either they feel like manifestations come to them super easily and they don't know why, and they wouldn't be able to explain, like, to what degree did you influence that, which is fine. But if they wanted to find out the science behind it, if they sat down, wrote out, like, this exact thing is happening tomorrow or in 3 weeks, just because they can do it once or twice doesn't mean they could do it in any category of their life that they randomly choose. Even if they can, well, then I guess they just really should be educating the rest of us, shouldn't they? If they can, if they genuinely were not just randomly handed opportunities from birth that were lined up, right? But if maybe when they're older, I don't think networking is like the antithesis of manifestation, if that's the right word to use there. I just think that these are like, I don't know where I was going with that. I don't think that, like, other people's generosity and kindness means that you didn't manifest something. But I do think that if you were born into a situation where it was like a solid guarantee that other people's kindness was going to give you X, Y, Z that nobody else that you're ever going to meet has, like, then it definitely does show that those people didn't manifest much after the point of birth, necessarily. Unless they made a significant impact in where they were, like, afterwards. But it's hard to prove. It's hard to prove, and we see so much, like, false information in our lifetimes, especially in the entertainment industry. We're constantly fed false ideas of what somebody else was able to manifest. What YouTuber that's, like, popular and has millions of subscribers has never gone on a podcast and said, hey, I just woke up one day with 1 million followers and I didn't know why. Like, they all say something like that. They all say something like 1 month after I started my channel, I had 7 million subscribers and I didn't know why and everyone freaked out, whatever. Like, everybody is given that label who's then seen as successful, which I think is toxic because I have not heard very many success stories where it's like, it took me multiple years to even get 1% of the success that I wanted, but then I continued and didn't give up on myself. And I also learned to manifest and work on myself and sort of trial and error things so much that I know for a fact it was not just the algorithm that randomly chose me, but divine intervention to some degree, or the ability to manifest is divine intervention, because it means that there was no divine intervention that stopped you, and you also had the ability to manifest super well. Anyway, one thing I've noticed that might, people might be like, oh, that's like a sign that that's good, or it's a sign that it's bad, or whatever. The thing is, when you make so many spell jars in a row and you're just pumping them out, that does change your personality, because each one has a specific intention and your mind has to work on itself to become strong enough, powerful enough to use the resources that your mind has to just improve itself to the degree where you can carry out the manifestation without any divine blockages, you could say. So one thing I've noticed making so many spell jars, for better or worse, it's like the death card in tarot. Who I was at the time that I started is now a decaying situation. Like, I'm in that state of what people call like a state of death. But I think people get so triggered by that statement, and they'll be like, oh, but you're not like dying, are you? No, I'm not physically dying. Like, you're missing the point a little bit. What I mean is that when you think about the death card in tarot, this card represents one phase of your life dying, and then the renewal and the growth. It's like in winter, if you think about some of the trees in a state of death, it doesn't mean that they're permanently dying, unless they're evergreen, they might stay around forever, but I just mean that the trees themselves, they live for hundreds of years. But during winter, they're in a state of death. And it's almost like a polar bear in its hibernation. It's like, this is my moment where I'm alone with myself and I'm sort of checking in with myself and preparing for the next season. And then in the next spring, that tree blooms again. It doesn't mean they physically end their lives it sounds dark. I don't mean it like in a, you know what I'm saying. In the most appropriate way to say this, I'm saying, like, the trees don't die every time that they get into a state of death. The polar bear doesn't die, or not polar bears don't even hibernate. What am I talking about? The brown bear. I am so sorry, you guys are probably like, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah, no, but the brown bear itself, they can live for, how long do they live? 50 years or something? I was gonna say 15, but that doesn't sound right. Maybe they live for 50 years. Maybe they live for 70, maybe they live for 20, I don't really know. Hopefully, if they're successful, they live a little bit longer. Like the actual spirit animal themselves, or like the animal species, like, if they're considered successful, right, in survival, they would just last a little longer than otherwise. I wouldn't consider like bees very successful. We always hear about them dying out. We always hear about how they only live a few months or something, I don't know. Or like flies, how they live 2 days. I would not see that as successful, even if they're capable of just like breeding whenever. Because how long are you actually living? Like, what kind of experience even is that? Like a 2-day life experience, like flying around doing nothing? I would consider humans like more successful than that. But maybe some species of turtles are more successful than humans. Maybe some species of trees probably most species of trees are probably more successful than humans when it comes to like the duration of survival of the individual. Oh yeah, so what I was gonna say is that I feel like my personality itself is like in the state of like decay, and it sounds dark, but I mean it is a little bit, but what I mean is that it's like the integration of like the dark aspects and the light, and it's almost like I'm a brown bear in hibernation, or a tree that's not an evergreen tree and going through this almost like self-reincarnation, waiting for the spring to come. What I mean by that is that I feel like my entire personality is like, sort of like sand crumbling just to reshape itself into a more ideal structure for the next season. Like, the more spell jars I've made, the more I had to sit there and meditate and look at myself and say, this physical object represents this frog right here, and that means something to me, and now I'm gonna tear up this paper and add it in, and I'm gonna add water and glitter, and all of these things like mean something to me, and I'm manifesting and I'm meditating and I'm looking at myself like, what part of myself do I want to change next? And I just sat there and I filled 150 water bottles, empty water bottles, with objects to the point where they were at capacity before I switched to the next one. That took me some time. It took me some time, and I had to really, really like self-analyze and be like, well, am I really sure about this one part of myself? Because I bet that I can get like 10% better in that one category. Like, I bet that I can like work on that one part of me, actually. Like, and a lot of like other people don't have to believe on the inner self work. Like, they don't have to believe that the inner self work that I'm doing means anything. Because people are going to be like, oh, magic isn't real. But when they look at what you're actually doing, you're in a state of meditation the entire time when you're selecting these objects to interact with in your environment. And most people who do know about meditation are not going to tell you that meditation is not real. And so people really don't understand, like, very often that witchcraft and meditation are really not different. Witchcraft is a meditation where you're actively doing things the entire time, including rituals, or including creating an object that has a purpose. I think that's really, the last thing I want to say before I close out the video is that, yes, I am going to keep posting on my channel. I know that I keep, like, taking short breaks and then posting a lot, multiple times a day or something, and then I take, like, 13 days off from it. I'm just doing it when the sporadic inspiration hits me. And so, yeah, I already talked about how I no longer work at Chick-fil-A, and I posted a video explaining why on my channel. So if you guys are new here, you can check that out if you want to. I did start a new job that is like an online stay-at-home job, where I can work like 24/7, and my job is to train AI by having a lot of conversations with my coworkers that are recorded that the AI then listens to. And I guess in a way, much like you and I, the AI is going to use those conversations to grow neurological pathways and learn about itself and expand in the ways that it wants to, with the guidance of the humans who own it, I suppose. Yeah. I guess what I would say, closing out the video, is expect more on my channel, but also expect my personality to just be readily evolving, because so many parts of me are in that metamorphosis state where it's like, I don't know exactly where I'll be in like 6 months, for example, like as far as like where all of my growth is going to lead me. I don't know. We're figuring it out. I love you guys. Bye.